Moving goods from Rhino into DeskProto. Okay, so I'm going to use this because it's probably a little bit closer to the kind of stuff that you guys would have to cut. This is a free model from the web. I've taken it into 3D Coat and I've washed it a little bit because the STLs were fairly bad. What we're going to do with this is we're going to move it into DeskProto and we're going to be cutting it in wood. So we've got to understand how we prep the model and also the reasoning why I use the curves here instead of DeskProto, but I'll show you how to get them in both places. So if we look at what I've prepared, you've got the actual model. Now beware, it's massively huge because of taking it through 3D Coat. But if I hide that down, inside a Rhino I used the mesh outline tool in the top view to generate an outline of the mesh for me. We're going to use this once we get into DeskProto for doing the fine cutting contained within one border. You'll understand a bit more once we get to that step. I've then also created an offset curve at 3.2 millimeters because the cutter I'm going to go in with roughing is 3.17, and I want that cutter to be able to get down underneath this part. The last thing I've done is remembering that you're going to have a block of wood, say this big, on the mill table, and when you're cutting this part you don't want it to fall out if you were cutting in a rotary. In this case I'm not cutting in a rotary, I'm going to cut this in one direction. It is wood, so I can sand the back off, but I'm going to put it in there for illustration purposes. So those would be the supports, similar to how you understand printing supports. So let's have a look at our parts. I'm going to create a folder on my desktop. Give me a second. New folder. Cutting demo. I like to keep all my files together. So I'm going to grab the two curves first. I'm going to grab the inside one. I'm going to export it into desktop, into my cutting demo folder. Now that's the inside curve, so I'm going to call that the fine cutting curve. And we want to export it as DXF. Alright. And when it comes up, look for R12 lines and arcs in the export formats. They all pretty much work, but that one seems to give me less problems. Alright, so that's the fine cutting curve. It's exported, and then we're going to export that one. And we're going to call it the rough curve. And we're going to export that one. Then I'm going to show the geometry. I'm going to select the curves, hide them. I'm going to grab all of that and export the model. Now you want to export as STL. STL, where are you? There we go. And I'm going to call this model. As you can tell, 262 megs of mesh. It's a lot of mesh. Now you'll be asking me why I'm not using my Rhino cam for this. For when I'm cutting Rhino geometry, it seems to work fast, but when you're using something with a lot of mesh like this, it can be very, very slow. I tried to path this in Rhino cam before, and after 7 hours it hadn't finished pathing even the roughing cut. So I just abandoned it and I've moved to DeskProto. Highly recommend for this kind of work you get DeskProto. Okay guys, I'm going to move over to the DeskProto part and save this video out.